We have merch. We finally have merch. This was something that we put so much planning into, this very specific launch date for the merch, by which I mean I just got sick of not having merch as I was preparing this podcast episode, and I hit the launch button on this podcast. So I have tested out all the things that we're selling except for one. I have not gotten the t-shirt yet, so maybe they're horrible. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But the other items I got them myself, and I just wanted to make sure that they were good. You can find that link in the show notes. It's kind of a long URL, and I don't have a shorter one to give you, but wherever you are listening, there are show notes. Kind of hard to find, I've realized, on Apple Podcasts. So next to the title, there are 3 dots to the right on Apple Podcasts. And if you click on that and click go to episode, then you can see the show notes and you will see that link to get your merch. Eventually, we'll probably sell different things, do different designs, whatever. So you should get these now, because one day we'll take these down. We will do different things probably. So these will be collector's items. These will be like, this is Jen's very first podcast merch that is officially available through the podcast. So go get your merch. I'm very excited about it. I'm really happy with the quality of the things that I've seen, and I hope that the t-shirts are good as well. Yes. And by the way, they were designed by Caitlin. Round it, hit the applause button for yourself. Caitlin did a great job. Just wait, just look at it. It's so good. So good. So this is merch just for listeners of the podcast, and I'm so excited about it. All right, today we're going to talk about habits, atomic habits, why the whole concept of atomic habits is a tool of the patriarchy. I don't know. You know how in the other episode I said okay.
I don't know if we can hear that.
Normally we would edit that out. I really hope the mics
picked it up. It's a solid 5 minutes. If they can't hear, they have no idea.
It's trying to. If you did not hear that perfectly timed meow, Caitlin and I are going to seem truly insane. Like, I really hope the mics pick that. Okay. Okay, you're gonna have to pause it. Okay, we actually had to pause this recording so that we could laugh for like 3 full minutes. And I have now messed up my eye makeup from laughing so hard. I think it just felt so perfect for okay, I can't go into another fit of laughter. It felt so perfect for my life and career in this podcast, when I was like, you know how I said in the other episode, did you just hear meow? Like, yeah, that is pretty much like this podcast is just kind of meow, meow, meow. It's just such a perfect example of where my life and career is right now. So, yes, as I was saying in the other episode, meow. I was also saying, you're not a bad mom. You're just poor. Because, you know, it's like I'm always saying, listen, I could be an ace at this domestic stuff. My house would not look like it looks right now if I just had 10 full-time employees. That is the only thing that stands between me and having a very nice, orderly house. I've said it before, I've said it again. It's a really simple fix that I simply do not have. So I think it's important to understand when you're being hard on yourself as a woman, as a mother, or as a man. This podcast has a very diverse listenership. Mm-hmm. When you're being hard on yourself, you need to remember that you probably don't have the resources that most people in your situation in human history have had, you are probably missing a lot of the things that most people in human history who were in your situation had. Now, in the case of money, I'm not saying that everyone has been rich. Like that's, that has not always been the case, obviously. But what people did have was community. What people did have was a village. And that is what we're going to talk about today. I mean, I know we talk about not having a village every day, but the specific thing that I want to hone in on is that a lot of the reason that you are probably failing at running a family, or maybe you're not. I mean, maybe you have it all together and you hate listen to this podcast as like, you just want to hear from someone who is like not as good as you. And that's, I honestly, I respect that if that is why you follow this podcast. But if you do feel like you're failing as a dad or as a mom, as especially as a parent in any way, I want to point out that a big part of what comes with living in a tribe or living in a village, as 99.9% of your ancestors did, is that you don't have to create your own momentum. I found this so interesting when I was studying anthropology, that tribes would just, that like they just kind of do things together. Villages kind of do things together. There was a rhythm. I remember we were studying this tribe in the Amazon, and the women would all kind of rise at about the same time, and then they would all gather. And this was the time when they would go wash their stuff in the river. So they would all go down to the river together. That's a necessary part of old school, like ancient tribal life, because that for safety, I mean, women couldn't just walk around individually. So they would kind of travel in a group. And then also your kids had the natural draw of running around with the village kids. So you didn't have to drag them out of bed, because in your hut or shack or whatever, whatever your ancestors lived in, the kids would hear the other kids gathering and everyone's, heading down to the river or whatever. And they would just naturally want to be part of that. So that the idea that you have to self-motivate to everything you ever do, to get your atomic habits all in order and perfectly do them, and that you are failing as a person and even failing morally if you are not keeping up with these habits, it is just a lie from hell, guys. It is a lie from the devil, and it really, really wears people down. And I think it will give you a lot of freedom to realize that people weren't really meant to gather their own momentum. People were not really meant to have to gather their own momentum. And if you feel exhausted all the time, it is probably because you have to create the momentum. You have to get the kids out of bed every day. You have to be the one to, there's no group of women coming into your house to go do the laundry together. And you just have that natural, like, okay, everybody's here. I might as well get up and be part of this. And you get some kind of dopamine hit, serotonin reward of when the women come in, that's when they would exchange information. Like in this tribe that we studied, there was kind of a payoff there of like, ooh, let's see what the juicy gossip is. All right, let's see if her brother is still single, if you were single, or like, let's see if her husband still being annoying, and what happened with her brother-in-law. And there was kind of a payoff of like, all right, everybody's gathering, it's starting for the day. If you are in a suburban house alone, where's your dopamine payoff? Like, there's not, unless you're just one of those people who's really good at household stuff and you like it and that's kind of your blue flame. There's no payoff. There's no dopamine hit. You're just standing in your trashed laundry room, like shoveling laundry in the washer. I mean, there's just no payoff. And so of course that's hard. Of course you're exhausted. There is a lot of mental energy that modern people have to put forth that your ancestors never did. And again, I'll say again, I am not glamorizing ancient life. I mean, listen, if we lived in the year 1000 AD or whatever, like we'd all be dead, without modern medicine, and a famine came through, and that's what, and then it got hot one day, and that's why Jen died, because there's no air conditioner. We don't even know what air conditioner is, but she felt like she was meant for a different life than this, and she just rolled over and died one day when a heat wave came in. I mean, so I'm not saying it was like everything is perfect. I just wish we could go back to the Stone Age. I'm just saying that we are living in unnatural circumstances. Thank God, it's unnatural to have air conditioning in cars and all of that. It's great. But it does require an expenditure of mental energy that your brain is not prepared for. And maybe that's why you feel exhausted all the time. Maybe it's not because you're not trying hard enough. Maybe it's not because you're a bad mom. Maybe it's not because you're not checked into domestic life. That is the main topic for today. As usual, we get to the main topic in the second half of the show. This is the Jen Fulwiler Show coming to you from Austin, Texas. I am your host, Jen. I am a best-selling author, stand-up comic, and mom of 6. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That is being a hot girl boss or hot boy boss. Who knows that love and family and community are the foundations for all true success. This is also the podcast where you realize you are not failing as much as you think you are. I promise. We publish new episodes every single Wednesday. I have also finally learned the proper use for my Patreon. I just do spontaneous lives where I talk trash about things I can't say publicly. So we do have a lot of other great content on Patreon, but who really cares? Because I think that's what we all want. So patreon.com/thisisjen. That is patreon.com/thisisjen. When you join, you get instant access to all the archives, and these trash talking lives I do are you can get that at any level. So there are 2 different levels of Patreon. Just join the Patreon in any form at any level, and you get access to those and the archives. So you can catch up on all my little trash talking lives that I have done. So you get instant access when you join patreon.com/thisisjen. Don't forget, you can also work with Caitlin. She designed our merch. Link in the show notes to both the merch and how you can work with Caitlin. Okay, so wait. Also, hang on, Caitlin, the tour. Play our fabulous tour song.
She was dropped by her agent and manager on the same day. Iconic. Now she's entered her villain era and she's back on tour anyway. Jen Fulwiler. News gonna drop. Jen Fulwiler. But she just can't be stopped. Jen Fulwiler. The tour is gonna pop. Takes that JFComedyTour.com. JFComedyTour.com.
That's right. Back on tour. And again, all these URLs that I'm throwing out at you, they're all in the show notes. So don't forget, I'm coming to Pittsburgh October 15th, Cincinnati October 16th, Toledo October 17th, Phoenix November 13th, St. Louis November 18th, Indianapolis November 19th, Chicago November 20th, Kansas City December 3rd, Omaha December 4th, Des Moines December 5th. Very, very exciting. Let me tell you, my new manager, who is amazing and who I love, he has a philosophy. He's really a big fan of doing back-to-back shows. Like he thinks that this is really the way to go, to do so 3 shows, 3 cities, 3 days. And I think he's right. I do think that makes a lot of sense. But in a lot of cases, it really doesn't make sense to fly because you're taking the risk that if, flight gets canceled or delayed, I mean, you have a show that night, like you're waking up in one city, you have a show in the next city. Flying on the day of shows terrifies me because I know that a lot of you guys travel like 5-6 hours to come to my shows. You get Airbnbs, you get hotel reservations. I live in fear of a show getting messed up because of like some stupid airline. So anyway, I prefer not to fly on the day of show. So I just drive. So like on October 15th, I have a show in Pittsburgh. The next night I have a show in Cincinnati. I'm driving. Oof. That's a little bit of a ways. Mm-hmm. I think with traffic, I think without traffic, it's almost 6 hours. Like I mapped it at midnight and it was like almost 6 hours. I'm like, okay, well, when it's not midnight, what is it going to be? I mean, it's a hike. So, and I don't have my 10 staff members. Everyone's like, who's going to drive you? Who do you think it's me, myself, and I? Listen, the Comedy Millions aren't here. If I bring someone with me, I have to pay for that. Nobody's time is free. I'm driving myself. So Cincinnati, I might be a little rough. I mean, 6-hour drive before that show. So anyway, we'll see. It'll be fun. It'll be very interesting. And by the way, I keep forgetting to say, on this tour this fall, this is brand new comedy material. Unless you were at my show in Birmingham or Nashville, like you haven't seen this material. So if you've watched my comedy special, a lot of people assume that I'm just touring with the material that's in my comedy special. No. Why would we do that? You've already seen that material. So no, this is all new stuff that I'm doing, and I'm very, very excited about it. So yeah, this is new stuff that you haven't heard, and it's working really well, and I'm actually really excited about it. Okay, first topic. I just have to tell you guys, my house, it's really interesting living in a house where there are 8 people, and all but one, maybe 2 of them are pretty noticeably neurodivergent. I think we've got 2. I think 2 out of the 8 seem to be pretty normal people, and the rest of us are just totally crazy. So my daughter, who I talk about a lot on this podcast, she's the one who was such a handful when she was a toddler. I mean, just an absolute chaos factory, just destroying the house for the love of the game. It wasn't even that she was curious about things and wanted to, get a toy or get her blankie or whatever. It was just causing chaos for the love of the game, and it never stopped. And she also screamed all the time. I mean, this kid has lungs. This kid, her screams would like fill the entire house, and she just screamed all the time. I swear, like, I aged 1,000 years during the first 3 years of her life. That's what, you've never heard me say it goes by so fast. I still look back. I would never look back and be like, where has the time gone? Like, it was like I was transported into an endless hell dimension of screaming and chaos for 3 years. Now, all that is to say, she is so lovely now. She is absolutely delightful. She is just such a truly wonderful young woman. So we got through it. And interestingly, a blog commenter who I met actually at one of my shows, she left a comment encouraging me one time, and she said she had a sister who was like that as a toddler and turned out to be so good with people, like just so congenial, just an absolutely lovely young woman. And I really clung to that. I printed it out. Like, I actually had it on my desk. I was like, I'm going to get through this. And she was so right. She nailed it. That is exactly how this child has turned out. But she definitely has her kind of, I don't know. I don't know if wild is the right word, but no, she's not wild. It's that she's very determined. And I think that's why she screamed all the time and caused chaos when she was younger, because she wanted to be running things, and she just wasn't meant to be in that baby body. She was meant to just be in charge and running things, and she couldn't stand being a baby. So if you have a kid who just cries and screams all the time and is kind of a malcontent, it might be that they were just not meant to be a baby, and they're just not enjoying this experience. And when they finally get into being a teen and a young adult, that they'll be like, now this is the life. This is what I'm talking about. I can now boss people around and make them follow my commands. And so that a little word of encouragement. I truly think she was just not meant to be a baby. She was just not about that life. It was not for her. Okay, so Caitlin, I don't think I even told you this story. So let me back up. TikTok Shop is going to bankrupt us all. Yeah. My daughters and we've all discovered it. And I hate to admit, it's actually really easy to order from it because they have Apple Pay. The combination of TikTok Shop and Apple Pay is going to be, the comedy millions aren't going to be enough. It's going to be the comedy multi-millions. I mean, and then I'm going to need a huge mansion to put all this stuff that we buy from TikTok Shop. So And so Pammy is always hitting me up about buying stuff from TikTok Shop. And I've told you guys before, when she gets fixated on something, you have to just give it to her. There is no point in arguing with her about it because she is extremely persistent. She is extremely persuasive. She will wear you down. She will 100% wear you down. Like you're not going to win. And I know that there are some parents out there like, well, I would teach my kid. Yeah, you wouldn't if she were your kid. She is one of 6, and she is my only one where as soon as she asks for something, I'm like, all right, well, we just have to do it because I know you're going to wear me down. I know you're going to out escalate me on this. So when she asks for stuff from TikTok Shop, by the way, I'm kind of kidding. She's very sweet about, when I say no, we're not getting that. She's actually very sweet. But if she is determined to get something, she will fixate on it and just keep making the case. Like one time I'd said she couldn't get something from TikTok Shop. It was like a $12 item, and she was very fixated on it. And so she politely was like, I understand. And then the next day she asked if we could talk, and she came into my room with her laptop and a 9-page PowerPoint presentation. Well, she did it in Canva, and it was a Canva presentation on why she needed this item. And then she texted me multiple times the next day, screenshotting endorsements from people who were like, this was beyond my wildest dreams. I got $50 of value out of this $12 product. And again, it got to the point where it was worth $12 to me to stop having this conversation. So that's Pammy and TikTok Shop. Okay, so she got permission to order some $15 item. But I said, it was one of those days I was at my limit. I was like, I can't, just get it yourself. Cause I had set up Apple Pay on her phone, probably a mistake to give the kids Apple Pay. But so I was like, just get it yourself. Now she was multitasking. She was probably on, what is it the kids use to communicate? Not, Discord. She was probably on like Discord with her friends or whatever, doing a FaceTime, I don't know, and ordering on TikTok Shop. So she places the order while she's a little bit distracted. So then the order, and she tracks her orders very carefully. I mean, she knows, she will somehow find out, like she'll put a chip in the UPS driver's brain just to make sure. She'll be like, wait, the UPS driver is still at home. Why is he still at home when my package needs to be delivered today? So she tracks her packages meticulously once they have been ordered. So she found out that the package had been delivered, but she looked at the picture and it was not our doorstep. And so she shows me, she's like, whose doorstep is this? And they, how insane that they delivered it to the wrong place. And I'm just like, I don't know. I can't mess around with this junk that we order on TikTok. Like, I don't care. So undaunted, as always, she just walked up and down our street with that picture. And she finally located the house that it was at. It was a few houses down. So she walks up, and the guy who answers the door, she said, it's that my package is here. He's like, I don't know, but you can ask my son. He has a son who's about her age. So he said, I don't know. And she shows him the phone. She's like, this is my package. You can see this is your doorstep. And then she shows him the address, but it turns out it was his address because she was goofing off with her friends. She put in his address. It was a type, she transposed, I guess, the last 2 numbers. And so it legitimately went to his house. Then it comes out, I guess, because she filled out some goofball form, being a goofball. And then you know how forms can autofill out? The name on it wasn't even her name. It was one of these Gen Z brain rot terms. If you have Gen Z kids, they're like skibbity toilet.
Yes.
Is that, do your kids say this a lot?
Toilet, Riz.
Yeah. So I think it might've been a different term. So the address, it was like, to Mr. Monsignor, whatever, not Monsignor, but like Monsieur Skibbity Toilet. at my neighbor's address. And I'm like, okay, well, this is really on you. Like, it is not to your name. They think you're the scammer here. And so the dad was just like, look, I don't know. Talk to my son. He'll be home later. And so she just let it go. No, I'm kidding. She literally stood by their driveway until the son came home, and she missed him when he went in the house. So she knocked on the door, and she said, hey, have you seen my package? And he was like, no, we haven't seen it. And she holds up the picture. She's like, this is your doorstep. He's like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. And there was a little flicker of something in his face that she was like, he has my package. He has my TikTok shop item. I think it was some kind of crazy pen or something, like a really cool pen or whatever. Like a pen that's also a flashlight, or you know that junk that they sell. So he was like, nope, haven't seen it. And she like didn't know what to do. I mean, she can't prove it, you know, but and it did go to his address legitimately. And she's like, look, maybe you're confused because it was sent to Skibbity Toilet. That is actually me. That's my street name. So could you just like give me maybe you thought it was for you, but that's actually it's for me, under a name that is not my name, at your address. So if you could just like hand it over. And he was like, look, I haven't seen it, and just shut the door. Oh, and also when she first arrived, he kind of barely opened the door, which she thought was suspicious. She's like, he has my TikTok shop package. I just know it. So she started, it's so funny. Because she's just such a cute kid. Like, she's a very cute kid. And she was, she got on her little hoverboard thing, and she went back and forth in front of his house all afternoon. And she was like, I think he's going to see this threat and give me my TikTok package. And it's like, that's the least threatening thing anyone has ever seen. It looks like you're just enjoying life. It looks like you're just getting some exercise on your hoverboard. She spent like an hour just going back and forth in front of his house. So her next plan is, I wouldn't be surprised if she does this. She wants to have a t-shirt made. Speaking of merch, we know how to do it. We just launched the Jen Fulwiler Show merch shop. Link in the show notes. She wants to have a t-shirt made that says, I stole Pammy's TikTok shop pen, and have that t-shirt delivered to Skibbity Toilet at his address. And like, how funny would that be if he's like, oh, it's another package, I'm keeping it. And he opens it up and it's like, I stole Pammy's package. I'm a Pammy package stealer. So that is the big drama at my house. There's always something. When you live in a house like this, there is always something. And by the way, last night I was on a show here in town, and my husband was out as well. And this kind of relates to, this is kind of getting into like the main topic and another thing I'm going to follow up on. But on a bit of a different note, I was heading out to a show, and I left the kids here because I have older teens now. And the teens were saying, haha, we're going to throw a party while you're gone. My teens were like, as soon as you leave, we're going to throw a party. And I was like, yeah, no, I know you won't, because this house is so trashed. You would not want people to see that we live this way. Or if you do, you'd have to clean it up, and then this house would be clean. So fine. Like, either way, I kind of win actually in this situation. But that's a parenting hack. That's a parenting pro tip. Just have a trashed house, and your teens definitely they won't throw any parties while you're gone. They'll be like, no, we're too embarrassed for our friends to see this. Okay, so brief follow-up on what I was talking about in the previous episode. That would be what, 223? Was that the...
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay. What I was talking about in 223, I was talking about influencers and how I don't mind influencers who show the perfect side of life, who seem to have perfectly clean houses, who do their fridge restocks, and who, everything is just nice and tidy all the time. Even if they show, I have a great relationship with my husband, I have a great relationship with my kids. There is an annoying way to do that, but a lot of them, I think it's great. I think it's really good that some people are winning, and it's encouraging to me to know that not everyone sucks at life like I do. I like it. But so I was trying to articulate But why do some people need to be muted? Why do some people drive me crazy? And I realized this is the articulation I was trying to get to in episode 223. It is, as I was saying in that episode, meow. I need to not bring that up again because we've already had to pause this episode once. As I was saying, meow, meow, meow. It's just going to be so weird if the mics did not pick that up. We are so anxious to get to the end of this episode so we can listen back. Yeah, and hear if that picked it up. This is what I was trying to articulate. Is, you know what it is? The people I have to mute bring a moral dimension into whatever they're good at. So they can't just say, I'm good at cleaning my house. I'm good at it. I like it. Or like my husband and I, we're just kind of a good fit. Things flow with us. I don't know. Like we got lucky. We're a good match and we've worked hard at it, but whatever. It is what it is. And we have a good marriage and I'm enjoying being married. That's all fine. I think that's great. It's when some people have a weird obsession with being seen as morally good in their personal life, in their social media presence. It is. Well, I would speculate that it's trauma based, but whatever. Like that, I'm done. And me being armchair psychologist, that was all last episode. Who knows why? But some people, it is very important to them at a deep core level that they be seen as doing the right thing morally. And they have so much inner tension about it that they have to foam at the mouth constantly on social media about how they are definitely doing the right thing. And it's not just in the religious world at all. The religious world kind of attracts that personality type, but even in, I live in Austin, Texas, and I'm in stand-up comedy. So you see it a lot with like far left people, with vegans, whatever. I mean, my Twitter feed is all like this virtue signaling, like I invited 4 trans homeless people for dinner last night because that's just, some of us believe in living our values. It's, every group has it. They've got those people that they have a lot of internal tension about, am I doing the right thing? Am I being a morally right and good person? And because that tension is not really resolved within their own life, they have to talk about it publicly and let everyone know that they are doing the right and good thing. And so, and then it becomes very annoying for the rest of us in their desperation to show themselves publicly as being morally right people. They imply that the rest of us who don't have their little quirks and habits are failing. So it's, rather than someone just saying, here's me cleaning my house. Look at this. Look at how amazing it is. It's, look at me cleaning my house because our God is a God of order. And I love my family. And a woman's real work is bringing in an orderly space for her children to blah, blah, blah. And like with statements like that, there is always an element of truth to it. It is true. God is a God of order. It is true that order is better than chaos. And it is true that women really are kind of the hearts of their home. And we do have a role of making our home a home, making a home that people want to be. Like this is all true. But what they do is they check boxes about the details of it. Like, I remember years ago, I said one of these influencers was, she was talking about the moral dimension of sweeping her freaking porch. She couldn't, this was in the blog world. She couldn't just post a picture of sweeping her porch. It was this whole moralizing thing about how, we as Christians we are representatives to our community. And just imagine if someone were to come to your house knowing that you're a Christian and your porch isn't swept. They might begin to wonder, is your God a God of order? I mean, it was like this absolute insanity. And I was like tired and vulnerable at the time. So I was like, I'm failing because I don't sweep my porch. And so that's what it is. That I just wanted to follow up on that. It's some people they have a lot of inner tension about whether they are doing the right thing. And unfortunately, they make it everyone's problem, because one of the ways they kind of exercise that tension is to talk about it publicly. And there are some people that their entire social media presence is one long, exhausting attempt to convince themselves that they are doing the right thing. And the rest of us just have to we're just dragged along for this horrible ride. And it makes us feel terrible about ourselves, because they're implying that, they're absolutely definitely doing the right thing. Definitely. Haven't you seen my 5 posts about it? I'm definitely doing the right thing. And it drags us down. So, so that is why a lot of these like women with their perfect lives and stuff, I think it's great. And I love it that they post it, because they're not bringing a moral dimension into it. They're just showing us how they're living, and it's cool and it's inspiring. And what's funny is, ironically, I think it makes other people more likely to want to be part of their lifestyle or whatever it is they're about, even their religion, if they just show it. That's the other thing, is I think people have maybe some deeper tension on some deeper topics. Like, if you always have to talk about A, how perfectly you're following your religion, and B, how well it's working out for you, it just kind of makes you're like, is it, or do you have some like inner turmoil you need to work out here? Because it does seem like you could just live your life and occasionally, just post some like, this is me living my life. And it just seems like there's a lot of inner tension for people who constantly have to convince themselves that like, no, this is definitely perfect. I'm doing it perfectly. It's working out perfectly. And I don't think it makes whatever you're into any more appealing to people on the outside to see you just constantly patting yourself on the back. I mean, no one wants to like watch someone like make out with themselves in the mirror. Hit the great analogy button. I mean, how is this podcast free? No, but nobody wants that, but that's what a lot of these people do. They're so impressed with themselves. They are so unbelievably impressed with themselves. And they're like, but all glory to God, all glory to God. It's like, well, God's not working like that in my life. Like, I'm not doing any of this stuff you're doing. I mean, I try, but like, I fail at it. So like, what are you saying? Man, I've muted so many accounts. It's just, so yeah, there you go. Anyway, so I just wanted to follow up on that. I think that is what is going on with that kind of group of people. And okay, so before I get into the main topic, which is actually related, I want to remind you that the Village Hustle Patreon is our higher level Patreon. You still get all the trash talking if you join it. The lower level is it's the after party we do after every episode. The Village Hustle Patreon is where like my kind of life tips, not in a moralizing, annoying way, just in a, here's some things that work for me, balancing work, family, career, village life, all that sort of thing. The one that just came out, episode 59, is I've gotten really obsessed with packing people, like how women organize their bags and their purses and their packing. And I'm really trying to become that person. Not always working well, but I'm trying. And so I was showing you guys just some of my new packing travel systems that really are a big change from how I used to do stuff like that. So it's a whole tour of my whole new packing system. And I went ahead, I just showed you guys the new bag that I got, and I wasn't going to mention it because it's so expensive. It's really expensive. I bought a really expensive bag, and I'm ashamed a little bit of how much money I spent on it. But you have to know, and I said this in episode 59, Village Hustle Patreon. I have been looking for the right bag for literally 18 months. It has been my hyperfixation. I have bought and returned 6 or 7 bags. I just couldn't get it right. And because I was trying to avoid buying this one, I was trying to find a cheaper alternative. I think I paid more money in return fees for all of these bags that I tried and failed than if I had just gotten what I wanted in the first place. So that is, you guys can see my very expensive bag. I also linked to it for my billionaire listeners so that you guys can get this nice bag too. But man, let me tell you, if you know how the manifesting people are like, you have to act like the person you want to be, and then you'll be that person. I'm not sure how we get from A to B on that, but you just have to do that. I'm about to be so rich because, well, really, like my whole life, I have been acting way richer than I am. I am so good at spending money that is out of my income bracket. I am amazing at that. So if manifesting works and just acting like the person you want to be works, I mean, so a lot of money's coming my way. It's taken a long time to get here because I've been acting like this for a while, but a lot of money is coming my way if that is actually how it works. I mean,
if it could just be a little sooner, you know?
Yeah. Look, I'm telling all these manifesting people, they talk about the universe. Like I want to say that I'm like, I've been showing the universe for a long time that I am great at spending money. Like the amount of money someone would spend in a pretty high tax bracket. I'm really good at that. I have demonstrated to the universe over and over again that that's what I'm about. So now, it's taken, 20 years, just a couple of decades, but I think, the comedy million should be here any minute based on my spending. Do you ever feel like you were meant to be rich and a cosmic mistake has happened and you were born into the wrong life and the wrong body? Because I'll be like, I'll be at an event and I don't have VIP parking and I don't have VIP access and I'm standing in line and I'm like, ugh, this life is not for me. And like, this life is like the only life I've ever known. But I'm like, this is just not for me. I can't do this anymore. I think there was a cosmic mistake. I was meant to have way more money than I do. Way more. Okay, let's get into the main topic. You are not failing as much as you think you are. You're not a bad mom. You're not a bad dad. You are just having to create your own momentum, and it is exhausting. And this is why. So it's been a while since I've trashed the book Atomic Habits. I used to trash it so much that, it's funny is at my shows, people often bring my books for me to sign because I always stay and hang out with people. You can definitely meet me in person if you come to my shows. I stay and hang out. And a lot of times people bring my books for me to sign, but somebody brought the book Atomic Habits because I hate on that book so much. They felt like that was the better book for me to sign. And the reason that concept drives me crazy is because it sold so much better than my books. Like as an author myself, when I see those sales numbers and I just think of like the good content that my books have that is so much better and more hot fire than that book. It's just that's really, full disclosure, that is where all of the fuel behind my resentment of this topic comes in. But it is also because it's not just about that one book by that guy who's very, very rich. Speaking of people who have their Atomic Habits millions. It's not just about that book. It's about, everybody talks about the concept of Atomic Habits, and it's the most, Atomic Habits is an anti-woman concept because women very often end up in situations where they don't have full control over their environment, their time, and their schedule. Kind of like right now with all of this noise in my, hey, could you guys shut my door? Do you mind? Some kids are over. It's perfect for what I'm talking about. Sorry, I left this open because nobody was in here. Thank you. As I was saying, meow. It'll never get old.
Oh no.
What did we do? What happened?
I don't know.
What just Okay, we just had to pause once again because now the camera died. This is just destined to be the most chaotic episode we've had. So if the audio is a little wonky there, that is why the camera died. This is the excitement that you see on my YouTube channel, jfonyoutube.com. This is exactly why you should subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow the podcast there as well. Okay, so the Atomic Habits is the whole concept of Atomic Habits is not for moms, because we can't keep up with habits in a perfectly rigid way, even if they're small, even if they're easy to do, because our lives are so intimately, inextricably connected with other people's lives that we don't get control over our schedules. We cannot perfectly commit to the get up at 5 a.m. and have my ice bath and do my morning routine and my journaling. We can't do that, because what if a kid woke you up in the middle of the night because she had a bad dream, and then another kid wakes up and is sick and you're late getting the kids to school? It just, Atomic Habits is not for people who live in any kind of community or village, because you just can't perfectly control your schedule in that situation. And the reason it matters is because people feel like they're failures. They feel like they're failures if they can't do their little routine and their habits and check this box and that box every day. But no, you're not a failure. You just need a different system to get things done. A system where you do have goals and you are trying to reach those goals, but it's in a flexible and fluid way. And you don't beat yourself up if you can't do if you're trying to write a novel, if you can't do your writing routine every morning. Well, of course you can't. You're a parent. Like, stuff happens. A stomach flu came through the house. Let me tell you, you're not going to be writing that novel every morning. And can we review my qualifications to say this? May we, Caitlin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me just see. The book that I wrote in the midst of having 6 babies in 8 years. Let's see how many reviews it has on Amazon now. Oh, great. Now my phone battery is about to die. We don't get to have nice things on this episode. Here we go. Something Other Than God. Let's see. It has very good reviews, and they're over 2,000 now. Over 2,000 reviews. Average rating is 5 stars. 4.8. And I deeply resent whoever took those 0.2 points off of it. It has great reviews. Look, guys, it's a good book. It just is. I spent 5 years on it. And so I accomplished the task of writing a book that was endorsed by Dean Koontz, one of the best-selling authors in human history. Dean Koontz said the book was great. Tucker Max, of all people, endorsed it. Cardinal Dolan. I got a bunch of great endorsements for that one. It's a bestseller. It was in the Goodreads. When Goodreads has the Reader Choice Awards, it was in the finals. It was in the top 10. It was my book, Something Other Than God, Jennifer Fulwiler. It was next to Hillary Clinton's book and Rob Lowe's book that was out at the time. It was a top 10 finalist. So I just want to say that the reason I'm going into this is we might put one of those clips on social media. And if we do, I always have these people come at me. This is an actual quote from one of my haters. They said, if you're not committed to your goals, then just say so. Because I was trashing Atomic Habits again. They're like, if you're not committed to success, just say so. Well, I wrote a best-selling book that has done very, very well in the midst of having 6 babies in 8 years. And then, by the way, I wrote 2 more that also did very well, and SiriusXM radio host and whatever. So I am only establishing that I know a thing or two about moving forward with your life and getting things done in the midst of village life, in the midst of family life. And let me tell you this, if you're beating yourself up because you made a commitment to just I'm just going to go to the gym for 15 minutes a day, it's easy, and you can't do that. It's that feeling of I'm a failure, I didn't get it done, all these influencers I follow do this. It's just wasting your energy. It's just bringing negativity into your life for no reason. There's no reason to beat yourself up and have that kind of negativity, because that's just not how life works when you live in community with other people. It's not how life works as a modern day parent who has a lot of pressures and a lot of burdens on you that a lot of people in human history didn't have. Again, modern life is great. I wouldn't change it for anything, but there are certain just psychological things and mental energy things that can really use a lot of our mental energy and make it hard for us to perfectly keep up with our habits. And yes, I know some people can do it. They're all in my comments on Instagram. I am aware that some people can get this done and they have their perfect 5 a.m. morning routine and they have 3 kids and whatever, but they are the exception and not the rule. And I would say that they have a special wiring where they get a real dopamine hit. They get a payoff out of strict routine. Some people are wired that way. So there is a reward for them in having a strict routine. It is a psychologically comforting thing to them. So they are getting those feel-good chemicals in their brain from that. Some of us, I would say most of us, it's kind of nice to have a routine, but it's not this major thing that we need in order to be happy. So it is really difficult to keep up with it. So again, to repeat the refrain of this episode, meow, and I'll stop. Okay, I know, it's too many jokes. That's the last one. I promise. That's the last one. To repeat the refrain of this episode, you're not a failure as a mom. You just don't have a village. And so any kind of thing that you are, any kind of routine or system that you are trying to put forth in your home, like I remember when we homeschooled, I was like, we're going to have circle time every morning. boy did life change. And that did not work. And especially when my kids were little, it was, we're going to have breakfast at this time and go on a nature walk and all that. And I felt like such a failure that I couldn't get it done. But again, what I didn't realize is people weren't meant to create their own momentum. When you live in tribes, as we were designed to do, the tribe is, you're moving with the tribe, and there's all of this momentum, and your schedule is handed to you. And for better or worse, I mean, I'm not saying that that's even a good thing. That would be really annoying to me, honestly, to live in the kind of community where, well, all the women are getting up to go down to the river to do the washing right now. And, I'd be the one like, I don't feel like it. It really wouldn't be for me. So I love modern life. But it is important to understand that all of this mental energy that you are using to create your own momentum, for that schedule that you want to do for your kids, for that new routine, for your atomic habits, that is an abnormal use of energy. That is a use of energy that your brain is not expecting to have to use, and it leads to exhaustion. And so I've got all these wonderful people listening to my podcast who are thinking, what's wrong with me that I'm so tired? Why am I so tired all the time? Like, why am I such a failure? Like, it's such a simple thing. Have a routine. Women have been having routines with their kids for like hundreds of thousands of years. Like, why am I the failure who can't do it? And that's why it's so important that you understand you're not doing it like people have traditionally done it. You are trying to create this momentum for your system and your routine all on your own. And that is not natural. This is the most chaotic. This is like the second most chaotic episode we have ever had. Okay, Caitlin is dealing with some more noise here. But so just think about that. Next time you wonder why you're so tired all the time. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons for it. But I would suggest that you are using a lot of mental energy that you don't realize you're using, and that you don't realize your brain did not expect to have to use. So it's just like, what? Like, I'm not designed for this. I have to do my own routine. Like I on my own have to have the gumption to get the laundry done, instead of just all the women in the village are going down to where the water is and gossiping and chatting and exchanging information and exchanging parenting tips. And like, it's kind of fun, you know, like you can ask one of the older ladies in your tribe, like, oh, well, is it normal that my kid is doing this? Because it seems a little weird. Like, did any of your kids do this? So it's great. Like, there's a payoff. You got your community, and your brain is just like, oh, you're doing laundry by yourself? Where's the village? Let's not do this. Why don't we wait for our tribe to show up and do laundry together? I mean, your primal brain is like, what? Your amygdala is screaming. It's like, what is it? I don't want to do any of this. Like, where's my community? Why do I have to do this all myself? And you are having to overcome that. I think this is, listen, welcome to hit the intro sound effect for Jen's Evolutionary Psychology Corner. Why haven't I been on Andrew Huberman's podcast? Where is that? I could school that guy in so much of, I need to go on all these podcasts and set these guys straight and tell them what true evolutionary psychology is all about. Listen, I think that this is an interesting point. I really think, and I haven't heard a lot of other people say this, I really think that we are really fighting our primal caveman brain by raising our families and living our lives alone, because the human brain is not meant for isolation. At any other point in human history, if you were living in a quarters, in a hut, in a teepee, you know, whatever, like going back to ancient times, and it was just you. It was just you and your little family, and like your husband wasn't even there, because a lot of people, they lived off the land, like the husband and wife were, you know, together most of the day, so it's like just you and your kids, and you listen outside and it's quiet. There's no one else around. It's just quiet, and there's no one to help you, and there are no other women doing the work with you, or if you're a man, there are no other men collaborating with you in what you do. I think that your primal brain is flipping out. I think it's in emergency mode. Like, we've been abandoned. This is a problem, guys. Like, what's going on here? And I do think it takes a certain amount of mental energy to overcome that. But we don't realize it, because this is the only life we've ever known. People have been living like this for a few generations now. So we think it's normal, but we do not realize how utterly abnormal this is in human history. And so we've just constantly got that spinning in the back of our brain, that our brain is just like, yeah, this is really hard to have to do your own laundry just yourself in a quiet house. That sucks. And you know, and your brain is like, where are the other women to talk to while you're doing this? Your brain is like, where's your husband, for that matter? Like, where is anyone? And so I do think that our primal brains kind of reject a lot of what we try to do on a daily basis, because it's waiting for the tribe to show up. Man, I'll tell you this for sure. For sure. If you are staying at home with kids and you've got little kids and you're just, you know, you're doing everything yourself because you don't have a support system, for sure, your amygdala, your caveman brain is like, this is nonsense. Like, where are the other kids in this tribe for your kids to run around with? Where are your nieces and nephews to play with your kids? Where is your grandma to hold the baby? Where are all the other women that you can chat with every single day and exchange information, and they have lifelong connections with your family and your kids, so they can give you good advice about what's going on? Your brain is like, what is this? I don't want any of this. This is insane. And again, it's great that we have all of our modern conveniences. It's better. It's better than if we lived in, you know, some horrible situation thousands and thousands of years ago. But your brain is definitely like, what is going on? Like, it's not what your brain was cut out for. So give yourself a break. If you're having trouble with your atomic habits, if you feel exhausted all the time, if you feel massive blocks to just doing your chores, like laundry, like doing the dishes, whatever, understand that your brain was not cut out to do this in isolation, and it probably is actively rejecting this. There is probably a part of your subconscious mind that is like, no, don't do the laundry. Don't, until the other women from your tribe get here. Like, what are you doing? And you have to overcome that to live in modern life. And so it's great. We get to live in modern life, but it is exhausting. And it does wear you down. And so, in conclusion, meow. What an episode. Listen, you deserve some kind of bonus. And if you, let me know, if you listened to the end of this episode, you deserve, I don't know, some kind of reward.
Cat emoji. Just put a cat emoji.
Yeah. Cat emoji. Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, we will be back with another fine episode next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.